All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we are setting the stage for a seriously high-stakes digital investigation. We're going to unpack exactly how cloud architecture vulnerabilities are exploited, and more importantly, we're going to answer a huge question. How do these vulnerabilities actually affect server virtualization security? I mean, if you rely on the cloud, you're relying on shared hardware, and understanding the invisible fault lines within that hardware, yeah, that is absolutely crucial. Okay, let's dive right into this. We've all heard the old cliche, right? The cloud is just someone else's computer. And it's true. Think of a massive cloud server as a giant digital apartment building. You rent your space, you lock your door, you feel completely secure. But the fundamental reality of the cloud is shared infrastructure. So what actually happens to your highly proprietary data when a hacker just rents the virtual machine, the apartment, right next to yours? Here's our roadmap for today's digital heist. First, we'll map out the virtualization attack surface. Then, we'll look at breaking out via VM escape, spying on neighbors using side channels, deep dive into hardware and memory exploits, and finally, look at defending the virtual fortress. Let's get to it. So, going back to our apartment building metaphor, the ultimate target for any attacker is the hypervisor. Think of it as the landlord and the master security system all rolled into one. Because it manages all the isolated virtual machines on a single physical server, literally handing out CPU, memory, and storage to each tenant, it holds all the keys to the entire building. Because virtual machines sit directly on top of the hypervisor and host OS, it basically becomes the single point of failure in cloud architecture. If a malicious actor compromises that hypervisor, the illusion of isolation is completely shattered, and every single apartment above it falls. Section 1. The virtualization attack surface. The illusion of perfect isolation. Moving your operations to the cloud doesn't just magically erase your security risks. It really just shifts them around and transforms them. As this research from IBM and UCSD points out, VMs are heavily marketed as the ultimate isolation tools, but in reality, they vastly expand your attack surface. Unpatched VMs or misconfigured access controls, they act as silent, open doors for attackers. The primary threat isn't someone breaking into a physical server room anymore, it's the virtual environment itself. Which brings us to Section 2, Breaking Out, VM Escape. When a hypervisor has a vulnerability, attackers basically get a terrifying menu of options to choose from. They might use hyperjacking to completely take over the virtual machine monitor. Or, even crazier, they could inject rogue hypervisors right underneath the original one. They can trigger VM rollback attacks to force a machine back to a past, vulnerable state. But the absolute most notorious is VM Escape. This is when an attacker breaks out of their isolated virtual machine, bypassing all limits, to interact directly with the host. Doing this grants them administrative-level rights to just steal binary contents and intellectual property from completely separate tenants. It's a massive breach of trust. Notice the stark difference in these attack paths. An attacker might move laterally, going door to door to hit a co-resident neighbor directly. Or, in the absolute nightmare scenario, they escape entirely down into the foundational network structure. From down there, they aren't just bothering a neighbor, they are sitting right at the switchboard, silently spying on the entire connected network of workstations and servers. All right, Section 3. Spying neighbors, side channels. Now, this is where the heist gets incredibly sophisticated, mostly because the attacker becomes completely invisible. Hackers don't actually need to kick down your virtual door if they can just press a glass to the wall, In a shared hardware environment, VMs frequently share level 3 cache memory. Malicious actors can just sit quietly in their own VM and precisely measure cache timing differences. By observing how fast or slow memory is accessed, they can literally extract your cryptographic AES keys without ever crossing into your virtual space. What's really wild here is how these smaller cache lines map back to main memory pages. Attackers aren't out there brute-forcing passwords, they're exploiting the physical shared architecture of that L3 cache. They basically run a spy process that constantly monitors shared memory pages, just waiting for tiny patterns that reveal exactly what sensitive data you're processing. Microsoft breaks this whole side-channel attack lifecycle down into 3 pretty clear steps. First step is the priming phase, where the attacker nudges the shared system into a specific state, like flushing the cache lines. Second is the triggering phase, where the unsuspecting victim performs an action, like a normal encryption calculation. And finally, the observing phase. The attacker measures the system state to detect the information conveyed by the victim's action. Step by step, it is a perfectly executed, totally invisible robbery. Moving on to Section 4, Hardware and Memory Exploits.
Shifting focus to the absolute deepest levels of the hardware architecture, we find things like the IOMU deferred invalidation vulnerability. It's a mouthful, but here's what it means. To keep systems running insanely fast, operating systems like Linux will actually delay invalidating memory mappings, which creates a tiny 10-millisecond window. Now, 10 milliseconds sounds like nothing, right? But during that fraction of a second, an unmapped memory buffer can still be accessed. A malicious device, like a compromised network card, can use that exact delay to steal data actively being read by a completely different storage device on the very same server.
This is that classic cloud computing tug of war, right? Performance versus security. Strict invalidation gives you incredibly high security, but it creates a massive bottleneck, dropping network throughput by nearly 30%. Deferred invalidation, on the flip side, is fast, it's efficient, it's perfect for heavy cloud workloads. But it rips open that critical 10-millisecond vulnerability window. And man, these hardware flaws go deep. Take a look at this half-specter hyperthread attack. A malicious virtual CPU can actually trick the hypervisor into speculatively fetching and pulling sensitive mapped data directly into the level 1 data cache, where another thread just continuously leaks it out. It's literally weaponizing the hardware's own speed optimization features against itself.
Finally, Section 5, Defending the Virtual Fortress.
So with all of these invisible attacks happening in the cache and deep within memory access windows, how exactly does the industry fight back? Well, researchers have proposed several mitigation strategies, but they almost all come with severe trade-offs. Hardware partitioning stops side channels, but totally kills performance. Dynamically reserving caches only works if processes are running in parallel. Modifying the compiler just invites different kinds of trace attacks. Right now, implementing pure hardware fixes imposes some really unacceptable performance costs on cloud users. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom. There is some really exciting progress happening. Researchers have actually developed a new hardware-assisted mitigation specifically aimed at that 10-millisecond deferred invalidation vulnerability we talked about. By modifying the hardware to prevent the reuse of stale IOTLB entries rather than strictly invalidating them immediately, they achieved 12.7% higher throughput than strict invalidation without sacrificing security. It is a massive, massive step toward actually balancing speed and safety. The cloud allows us to scale globally in literal seconds, but that amazing convenience relies entirely on hypervisors, shared caches, and ridiculously complex memory management. As hardware gets even more complex and our performance demands continue to skyrocket, I want to leave you with this final, vital question to ask of your cloud providers. Who is really sharing your server, and what can they hear through the walls?